Wear it. Do not remove it. Not until your wedding night. The day you remove it before then, everything you have gained will vanish like morning smoke.
Wear it from today.
Adana stared at the old woman.
I should
Mama,
wear underwear?
It is just underwear. The old woman's eyes did not blink. Is it? My people, are you ready? Because I need you to sit down properly before I start this one. Put your phone on charge, get your water, and listen well. Because this is not one of those stories you can hear with half attention. This is the story of Adana, a beautiful 29-year-old woman who was so invisible to men that even her own contact list forgot she was a woman. Until one old woman by a roadside kiosk gave her something small, something strange, and her entire life turned upside down. And when I say upside down, I don't mean small romantic wahala. I mean the kind of upside down that will make you look at every man that approaches you and ask yourself, is this one breathing? So settle down and please, click that subscribe button and like this story before we begin, because the way this one ends, you will want to find me immediately and say thank you. Now, Amuke was not a village. It had tarred roads, fast people, tall buildings, and the kind of neighbors who had lived beside you for 2 years and still called you the girl in flat 3B. In Amuke, minding your business was not just a personality, it was a survival skill. And Adana? Adana had mastered that skill like a PhD. She was 29 years old, living alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a quiet building. Fine girl, genuinely fine. The kind of face that photographers pray for. Clear skin, good bone structure, eyes that could carry a whole conversation without the mouth doing any work. But the way Adana moved through life, you would never know. Because Adana's world was exactly the size of her phone screen, and she had arranged things so that nothing outside it required the attention. She ran an online business from her room, handmade beaded jewelry, custom accessories, small woven bags she photographed so beautifully that customers would buy without asking price. Orders came in steadily. Dispatch riders knocked on her door every other day. The business ran, the rent was paid, the fridge was stocked. And Adana stayed inside. Her daily routine? Wake up, fried her ripe plantain, open laptop, reply customers, package orders, post on Instagram, close laptop, cook, sleep, repeat.
I'm focused. Men are a distraction. It will happen when it happens.
And she was not lying. But she was also not fully telling the truth, because something was eating her quietly from the inside. Now, my people, let me describe something to you. You know that feeling when you open Instagram at night and see 3 different wedding posts from girls you went to secondary school with? Girls who were not even more fine than you. Girls who used to copy your assignment, every there on your bed alone, staring at the ceiling like it owes you an explanation? That was Adana's nights. She would scroll. Someone got engaged. Congratulations, type with smiley face. Someone posted first pregnancy. Oh, so beautiful, typed while staring at the ceiling. Someone posted a wedding video and tagged 4 bridesmaids that were all your classmates. Adana would close Instagram, open it again by accident, close it again, and then lie there running the same thoughts in circles. What is wrong with me? 29 years old, no boyfriend, not even a situationship, not even one confused man sending hi on WhatsApp at midnight. Her contact list, she counted once out of curiosity, had 41 contacts. 40 of them were women. The one man was her building's maintenance guy, and he only texted about the water pump. She told herself it was fine. I'm focused. Men are a distraction. It will happen when it happens. But at 29, those words start losing weight. They start sounding like what people say when they don't want to face something. Because deep down, Adana was scared. Not the loud kind of scared, the quiet kind that sits in your chest like a stone and never fully leaves. She was scared that something was wrong with her, that she had somehow missed her turn without knowing when she stepped off the road. That by the time she looked up from her phone screen, everyone would already be ahead of her and no one would be coming back to get her. That fear, that quiet, heavy fear, was the thing she carried everywhere, even inside her own house. It was a Thursday afternoon when the first unusual thing happened. Adana needed tissue paper from the corner shop. Simple errand, 5 minutes maximum. She tied her hair quick, wore her flat slippers, put on her plain grey top and easy house trousers, the kind of clothes that say, I am not going anywhere interesting, and stepped outside. She took the side streets, quieter, fewer people, faster. She passed a suya stand, a woman selling beans, a mechanic's shed, and then she almost walked past a small wooden kiosk tucked under a neem tree at the edge of the path. The kind of kiosk that sells everything and nothing. Matches, body cream, phone credits, small snacks, a few rolls of cloth in the corner. And sitting inside that kiosk was the old
You don't come outside much. You know me? I've seen you
head
pass a few
tied,
times.
eyes so bright and sharp they looked borrowed from a much younger person. The woman looked up and said casually, like they had met before, Come and rest small, my daughter. Now, my people, Adana did not know this woman. She had never seen her before. Under normal circumstances, she would have smiled politely and kept walking because that is what city people do. But something about the woman's voice stopped her feet. Not loud, not commanding, just certain. The way a door opening sounds certain. Adana sat down. She didn't even fully understand why. The woman gave her a biscuit from the shelf without asking. Adana collected it without asking why. They sat quietly for a moment, watching the road. Then the woman said, You don't come outside much. You know me? I've seen you pass a few times. The woman chuckled softly.
You always walk like you're running late, even when you're not. Head down, quick steps, like you're trying not to be seen.
Adana had no response to that, so she said nothing. The old woman introduced herself as Mama Esse. Then she said something strange. She said she had sat at that kiosk long enough to know the difference between a girl running towards something and a girl running away from something. Then those sharp, bright eyes turned toward Adana and she asked very calmly,
Which one are you?
And I don't know what it was. Maybe the directness of it. Maybe the fact that no one had asked Adana a real question about herself in a very long time. But the girl opened her mouth and everything came out. The business,
You are
the
locked
staying
there.
inside,
Is a
the
difference.
41 contacts with one man who only texted about the water pump, the Instagram weddings, the ceiling staring, the fear at 29 that something was wrong with her, that without knowing when wisdom without of talked, for longer than when quiet. Then way or old people nod when you saw the what you've just said, when you are not broken, she said.
You are locked.
They're of the two. Then without further her wooden in postponed, You're between them on the bench. Adan looked at it. Then she slowly unwrapped it. It was underwear, fine fabric, deep burgundy, with the faintest golden through it, with someone with moonlight. It's about expensive. It looked like it did not belong in a roadside kiosk under a neem tree. Adana stared at it.
Mama, what is this? Wear it from today.
The old woman said simply. Adana blinked.
I should wear underwear?
Not just wear it. Mama Esse's eyes went serious now. That bright sharpness turning into something heavier. Do not remove it.
Not just wear it. Do not remove it. Not for bathing, not for sleeping, not for anything until your wedding night.
The day you take it off before then, everything it brought you will vanish. Everything, like it was never there. Adana looked at the cloth, looked at the old woman, looked at the cloth again.
Mama, are you well?
The old woman laughed, a full, warm, unbothered laugh. Take it, my daughter. You ask God for a door. I am just the person standing at it. Adana wanted to argue. She was a sensible woman. She ran a business. She did not believe in superstition. But somehow, she took the underwear, thanked the woman, collected her tissue paper from the next shop, and walked home. That night she wore it, just to see. Now, my people, are you ready? Because from this point, the story changes. And when I say changes, I don't mean small changes. I mean the kind of changes that make you question what exactly that old woman was selling in that roadside kiosk. Because it clearly was not only matches and phone credits. Within the first week, Adana's Instagram notifications started behaving strangely. She was used to a calm inbox, maybe 5 to 10 messages a day, mostly customers. But suddenly, her DMs were filling up in a way she had never seen before. Not just customers, men. Old classmates she hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly sending, "Hi, how are you?" Friend requests from men she vaguely recognized from her university days. Strangers sending polite messages that weren't rude or desperate, just interested. She counted 12 new male contacts in 4 days. Then something happened that really confused her. She ran out of packaging material and had to make a proper trip to the supply market. A longer journey, more people. She dressed the same way she always dressed. Comfortable, simple, nothing special. But something was different this time. Men were noticing her. Not the rude kind of noticing, the kind where someone doing something else suddenly looks up when you pass. Where a man at a shop smiles first without reason. Where someone behind her at the bus stop taps her shoulder to say, "Excuse me, I think you dropped this," and then holds the conversation 3 minutes longer than necessary. Adana walked back home confused and slightly shaken. It's a coincidence, she told herself. But coincidences don't usually come in groups. 3 weeks after Mama Esse and her mysterious gift, Adana met Daniel. She had gone to a small tech market to buy a new ring light for her product photography. Standing at the counter arguing about price, because Adana did not play when it came to business expenses, she heard someone behind her laugh. She turned.
He was tall,
easy looking.
It's a premium model, ma'am.
The kind
Top
of
quality.
handsome that doesn't announce
funny?
itself loudly.
Just admiring the
Relaxed
negotiation
face,
skills.
Stick around, it
good
gets better.
teeth, casual clothes.
Sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I've had the same argument with this man 3 times. He always starts at double the actual price.
He nodded towards the shop owner.
He always starts at double the actual price.
That's so funny every single time.
Both of you should just pay and go. Whoa, okay, we're going.
They
We'll
laughed
be
at the
back.
same time, and six it began. Daniel was an architect. He had an office not far from her building, something she found out during a conversation that lasted 45 minutes on the side of the road outside that tech market. There the long. He was 32, calm, direct, and he listened when she talked in a way that you're genuine rather than performed. He asked her about the business without making the sound small. He didn't use his phone once during the entire conversation. Before they parted ways, for the first time in longer than she could remember, Adana gave a man her number and meant it. Now, my people, I need you to understand something about Adana and Daniel because this part is important. These two people genuinely liked each other. Not the fast Instagram kind of liking where feelings arrive before the person does. Real, slow, comfortable connection that built itself steadily over weeks.
Really? I was just
He
about to
called
call
when
you.
he said he would.
Great minds think
She
alike. How's your
answered.
day going?
They talked
Busy,
about
but hearing your
work,
voice makes it
about
better.
family,
Aw.
about irritating things and funny things and serious things. He brought her food once when she mentioned she was too busy to cook. She helped him name colors for a design project because, as she put it, architects have no business naming colors. You people call everything beige. He laughed for 2 minutes at that. Within 2 months, Daniel had said clearly that he wanted something serious.
I like you, Adana.
He used actual
I want
words.
this to go somewhere real.
I like you, Adana.
Yes.
I want this to go
I like you
somewhere
too.
real. Not hints, not behavior, words. The kind of direct statements that women spend years waiting for. And Adana who had once stared at ceilings in fear that no one was coming, said yes. They began planning a future. Small things first, then bigger conversations. Meeting families, possible timelines, the kind of talk that means people are no longer guessing. But there was one conversation that kept repeating itself. Daniel would bring it up gently. Adana would redirect it. The subject of full intimacy, of taking the relationship to that final level. Daniel was patient about it. He didn't pressure her, but he also kept returning to it, confused by her hesitation because everything else between them was so close and easy. Adana couldn't explain about the underwear. How could she? My boyfriend, I cannot do this because a roadside kiosk grandmother gave me a magic pant and said it would destroy everything. That was not a sentence she could say to any person who knew her. So she told him she wanted to wait until marriage. He accepted, mostly. But one evening, 3 months into the relationship, the conversation warmed between them. The moment soft in the way that moments sometimes become. Daniel held her face and looked at her with eyes that were so full of something real that Adana's own chest tightened with it. Adana, he said quietly,
Adana,
I love you.
I love you.
And I'm not going
And I'm
anywhere.
not going anywhere.
But I need to
But I
feel
need to
that
feel
you
that you
trust me completely. And something in her, something that had been alone for 29 years, something that had lain awake staring at ceilings, something that had been so hungry for exactly this kind of moment, that something cracked open. She forgot about the old woman's warning, or maybe she chose to forget, or maybe she told herself it was just underwear, just superstition, just an old woman's strange joke. She reached down, she removed it. My people, come closer. Because what happened next is the thing that Adana will never, for the rest of her life, be able to fully explain to anyone who wasn't there. The moment the fabric left her body, Daniel stopped moving. It wasn't gradual. It wasn't slow. One moment he was there, warm, present, solid, and the next he was standing perfectly still, like someone had pressed pause on him. Adana looked at his face. His eyes were open, but they weren't seeing her. They were looking past her at something she couldn't see. Daniel? Her voice came out small. He stood up slowly. He walked toward the door. No words, no goodbye, no explanation. He opened the door and stepped outside into the night. Adana ran after him. Daniel! Daniel, what is wrong with you? Daniel!
Talk to me.
He walked down the staircase without turning. She ran to the balcony and watched him step out of the building gate into the street. Walking, steady, calm, going somewhere purposeful, as if he had an appointment that had been waiting for him. She grabbed her phone and called him immediately. The line rang and rang and rang. Then you picked up, but there was no voice, just silence on the other end. Then a faint sound like wind passing over an empty place. Then the call dropped. Now, my dear, Adana is a sensible woman. She did not immediately start concluding supernatural things. She called 3 more times. No answer. She sent messages. No reply. She stayed awake until 3 a.m. Nothing. By morning, she was worried, but with still reasoning. He had a bad moment. Something happened. He'll explain. But the days. But he didn't come. He didn't call. His phone was now completely unreachable. Not switched off, not busy, just gone. The way a number that has never existed goes when you dial it. She had his workplace address. She went there. The office building existed. She described him to the receptionist at the front desk. The woman frowned. Architect?
What's his full name?
His full name?
Oh, his
Adana
full name is
gave
Edward
it.
Ramirez.
The woman checked
Thank
the
you.
register,
Just
checked
a moment.
again, checked
Okay,
a
thank
third
you.
time and said, We don't have anyone by that name working here.
Working here.
Adana felt something cold move through her. She went back to her phone. She opened Instagram, found his profile, the profile she had visited many times, seen his posts, seen his face. She typed his handle. The profile did not come up. She searched his name. Nothing. It was as if the account had been removed. She checked her DM history with him. The conversation was there, but his profile image was now a grey circle, a deleted or deactivated account. She called Blessing, her cousin. Has Daniel ever come up on your Facebook? He said we had mutual people. Blessing checked. I don't see anyone by that name. But wait, Adana, what's the surname again? She gave it. Blessing went quiet for a moment. Adana,
There's a
post here from 2 years ago. It says
he passed away.
It says he passed away. Adana sat down on her floor. She opened her WhatsApp. She started going through the male contacts that had come since the day she wore the underwear. The old classmates who had reached out. The men from university days who had suddenly appeared. One by one, she sent messages. One by one, the messages showed one grey tick. Sent, but not delivered. She checked their profiles. Some showed last seen from years ago. One showed a number that was no longer in service. She called a name she recognized from secondary school, Tunde, who had sent her 3 cheerful voice notes just 2 weeks ago. The person who answered was a woman. Hello? Please, is Tunde available? Silence. Then the woman's voice changed. Who is this? Tunde has been dead for 18 months. Adana dropped the phone. My people, Let me pause here and let that sink into your chest, because I want you to understand what Adana was sitting with on her floor that night. Every man that the underwear had brought her, every friend request, every "hi, how are you?" every pleasant conversation, every person who had made her feel like the door was finally opening, every single one of them, when she traced them back, was gone, dead, accounts deleted, numbers disconnected. The men who had smiled at her on the street could not be found. Daniel, the man she had fallen in love with, the man who had said, "I love you," with eyes that looked so real she had believed them, had walked out of her door and into nothing. She had been surrounded by ghosts, and she had not known, because the underwear had made them visible to her, attracted them to her, and the moment she removed it, they went back to where they had come from. Adana sat on her floor until midnight. Then she stood up, went to her bathroom, washed her face, and made a decision. She was going back to that kiosk. She went at first light the next morning. The side streets looked the same. The suya stand, the mechanic's shed, the women under umbrellas, the neem tree at the end of the path. But the wooden kiosk was not there. Adana stood where it had been. There was nothing, just bare ground and the roots of the tree, like a kiosk had never stood there in her life. She asked the suya
Hello,
seller
sir.
beside
The old
where
woman that
it had
sells
been.
here, the kiosk.
The
Where
old
has she
woman with
gone?
the blue
What
wrapper.
kiosk? No
The
kiosk has ever
kiosk.
been on this spot.
Where
Only
has
the
she
tree.
gone? The man looked at her blankly. What kiosk? No kiosk has ever been on this spot. Only the tree. Adana walked home slowly. She sat at her table for a long time without opening her laptop. Then she did something she had not done properly in years. She thought. Not the circular, anxious thinking of the nighttime ceiling. Real, slow, clear thinking. She turned the whole story over in her mind. The old woman, the warning she had been given, the exact words, the day you remove it before then, everything it brought you will vanish. She vowed she had removed it anyway. And what had she lost? She thought about that carefully. The men were gone, but what had those men been? Ghosts. They had not been real. Daniel's love had felt real, but it was not something from the living world. The friendships that had flooded that inbox were not real friendships. Everything the underwear brought had been borrowed from somewhere she could not follow, which meant she was back where she started. 29, unknown, you. But here is where I need you to listen carefully, because this is the part that Adana herself almost missed. She was sitting at her table, laptop closed, feeling the full weight of her life, when she noticed something. On the street below her window, she could hear the normal morning sounds. She looked down, and a man who lived 2 floors below, a quiet man she had passed in the corridor maybe 4 or 5 times, always nodded politely. She had never even learned his name, was standing at the building gates, talking to someone on his phone. As if feeling eyes on him, he looked up. He saw her at the window. He smiled and gave a small wave. Adana, who for 29 years had looked away whenever a man's eyes found hers, Adana smiled back and did not look away. The man held up one finger, 1 minute, and ended his call. He called up to her.
Good morning.
Good morning. She called
morning.
back. Good morning, he said. I've been meaning to ask. Do you know any good spots near here for jollof? I just moved in properly and I have not found anywhere good yet.
You've been in
Adana
this
laughed
building
before
how
she
long?
could stop herself. You've been in this building how
Still
long?
finding your way?
4 months? And you're still finding your way? I'm a slow explorer. He grinned. Can I have your advice over a walk? I promise I'm harmless. I'm the boring neighbor from flat 1A. She looked at him for a moment. Real, warm, standing in actual morning sunlight, casting an actual shadow on the actual ground. Give me 5 minutes, she said. Now, my people, before we close this story, let me tell you one thing. Adana went downstairs that morning. She showed her neighbor 3 good spots for jollof. They talked for an hour. His name was Emeka. He was 31, a quiet man who worked in logistics and was, as he described himself, genuinely boring but very reliable. He made her laugh twice. He asked before he took her number, and when she gave it, she did not go home and wait to see if he would call. She went home and opened her laptop and returned to her business because life was still her life. Work was still her work. But for the first time in a very long time, the ceiling above her bed at night did not feel like something she owed an explanation to. Was Emeka the one? That part of the story was still being written. But Adana had learned something that no underwear, no old woman, no charm from any roadside kiosk could have taught her. That what she had been searching for in all that desperation, the proof that she was lovable, the sign that she was not broken, the door opening, none of those things lived outside her. She had handed them over to an old woman under a neem tree and trusted a piece of cloth to carry them. The real door had always been hers to open. She just had to be willing to stand at the window. And that, my dear listener, is the story of Adana, the girl who wore a magic underwear, fell in love with a ghost, and found herself. So before you go, I have a very important question for you, and I want you to be honest in that comment section. If you were Adana and you found out that every man the charm brought you was already dead, would you go back to the old woman and beg for another one? Or would you count your blessings that you found out before you went too far? Because some people are saying Adana should have kept the underwear on. Others are saying the whole thing was a warning she needed. What do you think? Tell me in the comment section. I want to read every single one. And if this story moved something in you today, please like, subscribe, and send it to somebody you know who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the person sitting beside you is also staring at their ceiling at night, and they need to know they are not broken. Until the next story, my people, take care of yourselves.